In today's episode of the Neil Wilkins Podcast, I'm joined by Manuj Aggarwal, who is an AI thought leader and many, many other things, as you're going to hear. Manuj has been, prolific, if you like, over recent years, and has really sort of transformed the thinking around AI and really what it means to all of us. So you might be a marketer, you might be a business owner, and I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, but what we're going to be covering in this particular episode is a much broader range of topics based around the impact of AI and really what it's going to mean to us as communities, as society, and as humanity, really more broadly. So welcome to the podcast, Manuj. Really great to see you.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, very much so. I've been looking forward to it. We've had this one scheduled in for a long time, and it's always been kind of on that list, and I've been thinking I'm really looking forward to this one because I know we're going to go on to some really interesting stuff. But I guess I really have to ask you the question. I mean, you have a very interesting backstory, which I know people are going to want to hear first before we kind of get into the detail. But kind of how did your backstory kind of lead to AI? Because it's not necessarily an obvious progression, is it?
Yeah. It was. It's funny that I was actually just thinking about this the other day. So my career started at fairly young age in India. So at 15, I was working in a factory, and at that time I was not realizing, but my mind was picking up all this sort of orchestration of assembly lines and how to produce things at scale and quality assurance, because these are all the things that you have to worry about in a factory, right? Like, so there are raw material coming in, and then you're producing all this finished goods, and then you're shipping it off to the customers, and this has to be done again and again and in bulk, right? So my mind was picking up all these, and then that was like a very tough life in that time. And then I wanted to improve my life and say, okay, I could do something more. And I found my passion in computers and technology. So what ended up happening was, I think my mind's ability to systemize things plus the knowledge of computers helped me to how can I say it, like, see things in a different way. And that led me to multiple opportunities, working with a lot of startups, working with Fortune 500 companies, and working on some really impactful projects, like with artificial intelligence. Like, we started helping students learn better. We started patients with their joint pains. I was just talking about another company which used data to help with chronic pain. So all of these, like, really impactful projects really showed me that how AI can really impact the world and make it such a, how can I say it, almost utopian society, where most of the things that we deal with today as a species are handled, are taken care of. And so that's what excites me. That's what gives me the passion to really implement AI in the right way, in businesses, in people's lives, so that rather than being afraid, or rather than being concerned about it taking over humanity, they can really get the true benefit of it.
Yeah, and this was one thing. I mean, obviously, I've been reading a lot of your kind of work and been looking at the kinds of things that you've been doing in recent years. And one of the things that, literally to me comes through so loud and clear, and this is why it's so refreshing to meet and talk to somebody like you, is that I think a lot of the narrative that we're hearing from many commentators and many, you could call them thought leaders within the AI space, is that it's all about automation. It's all about efficiencies. It's about process. But you're coming at this from a very different perspective, which is actually the doing good and actually kind of feeding back something that is much more, I guess, profound than all of those just savings of, time and money and energy. You're actually coming from a much stronger, much more powerful place, aren't you?
Well, the key is that a lot of people who come from it from a technical point of view or purely business point of view, they look at it at the surface level and say, okay, what are my main challenges today? how can I grow, right? And so human capital is the most precious capital, and also in today's age, it's the most difficult to grow. Like it's good people are hard to find. So that's why a lot of people just turn towards automation and say, okay, I won't need humans to grow and accomplish my vision, right? But the thing is that if you really truly understand what for lack of a better word, what consciousness is, like, how humans evolve and all of those things, there are methods to actually use AI to make humans more productive. that will be a that will be a more sort of holistic use of AI, to rather than replacing humans, augment humans,
Mm.
right?
I'd like to kind of explore that a little bit more deeply, because I think this is something for some of us who have been, tussling with AI for a number of years now, and suddenly it's in the whole, sort of human psyche. Everybody's aware of the possibilities, but maybe they're not really thinking in this kind of way. And I think it's quite an interesting thing, isn't it, when you go a little bit more deep than just ChatGPT and the obvious other kind of alternatives there is something a little bit more profound that's actually happening here, isn't there, with this kind of machine learning and with some of the technology stacks that we're seeing emerge here. Can you
Yeah.
give us a little bit of an insight into what you feel is going on?
Well, what is happening is, see, our world has evolved based on the intellectual capabilities that we have. So each human, of course, can contribute to society, and according to their intellect level. So a good example will be, Einstein had an IQ of about 170 or so, right? He was a super genius. Now machines have an IQ of, like, 1,000. So there is no way to compete at an intellect level. There is no way to find solutions at that precision and speed as the machine. So humanity will need to be restructured in some ways, where, today our value, the rewards that we get from the world, the income that we get, are based on how we can solve problems, like our mind. But moving forward, if the mind is commoditized, what is left is human emotions, and our ability to really understand the world, understand the environment around us, pick up what exactly is needed, because the needs of tomorrow will be totally different than what we think the needs are today, right? uh, so that's, as you said, like, that's a very profound shift that is happening right under our noses, but people won't really realize it until it has actually taken shape. And I'll give you an example. In 1995, I logged into the internet for the first time. Okay. And it was through one of those modems, making squeaky noises and all of that. And 3 years later, and in 1998, I was applying for my first entry level, uh, computer programmer position, and I could not apply for that position unless I had an email address, right? In 3 years, the world had changed, that if I didn't have an email address, like, I was literally not able to apply for a job, right? Same thing with smartphones. In 2007, iPhone 1 came out, and, like, within, like, maybe 3 years, 3 or 4 years, it became such a big part of our life that now we cannot imagine life without a smartphone, right? So these kind of shifts happen slowly, and one day people realize, oh, my world has already changed. So that's exactly what is happening right now. We're just going through it slowly, and a lot of industries are going to be disrupted. A lot of new paradigms are going to emerge that have never been part of human history. And that's the exciting part. That is what we are seeing around us already happening.
It feels like you've got a really positive energy around this. When you describe that change, it's almost like you're fueled by it. It feels exciting. It feels an opportunity. I mean,
Mhm.
how do you address this when you talk to companies and you talk to people who are almost the other end of the spectrum, where they're fearful either because of their particular role or just the uncertainty, or this kind of bigger kind of the robots are going to take over the world kind of mentality? How do you kind of deal with that? Because you're coming from a very different, very positive angle, aren't you?
Yeah. So let's address those two concerns. One, the two major concerns we hear is, oh, it's going to take away my job, and the other one is AI is going to take over the world. Yeah. So let's address both of them. So take away my job. So I tell people, just imagine, go back to 1910, and there was no automobile then, and people used to travel through horse carts. And let's say you have a business of delivering food, using horse carts, right? And you can make like 5 6 deliveries in a day, and you're making a good living. Now comes 1920, when the automobile assembly line was invented. So you have a now vehicle which can travel like 3 times faster, and you can make like 3 times more deliveries, right, in a day. um, it is your choice whether you adopt the new technology and grow your business 3 times, or you stick with the previous technology and become less competitive. Because if, I mean, nobody is going to argue with you that you want to stick with the old ways, but your competitors are going to upgrade to new technology and hence push you out of the market, right? So these are the choices that any individual can make. I cannot argue for or against. So what I tell them is, look, AI is not going to take away your job. Somebody who uses and understands AI will take away your job if you don't, adopt it, right? Secondly, about the AI taking over the world. See, this is again our human desire to like sort of uh, put ourselves on the pedestal, like be all powerful. Like, a lot of men in history have this ambition to be the ruler of the world, right? So it is our human desire that as soon as I have such influence and power, my immediate action will be to eliminate others or subdue others. That's what we think as humans. And now, if AI is another species, we are projecting that, okay, if AI becomes so powerful, it is going to eliminate us. I mean, but if you think about it, in nature there are millions and millions and millions of species. There is no other species that organizes wages organized war against each other, like create weapons, right? It's only humans. So the idea that, people don't really understand this desire to take over the world and all of that, it is not a natural tendency. It is a reaction to centuries of suppression and plundering and things of that nature, which comes out in ambition to take over the world. Are you following me?
Mm.
So so if we compare that with AI, like somebody will have to like really sit down and come up with a jealousy algorithm and a suppression algorithm and plant it into AI and say, now you know how I feel. Now, go take over the world, or something along those lines. So AI is not going to take over the world in from that aspect. Now, the third thing is, some bad actors may use AI for bad things. Yes, of course, that is true with any technology, anything that we use. There are always going to be 5% of the people who are, who have malicious intent, but you have to rely on the goodness of 95% of the rest of the people who keep it together. Otherwise, we would have been wiped out of this face of this planet long time ago, right?
Yeah, it feels like the way you're describing this, and this is really fascinating for me, because it feels then that what you're describing AI already is, but will become, is almost an accelerator or an exaggerator of everything that we choose for it to be. So
Yeah.
we can do things, as we know, automated, so it becomes more efficient, faster, more effective. But that is just an acceleration of what we've already got. Time, again, is another thing here. I know a lot of people have said this year has gone so much more quickly, or at least the perception it's gone so much more quickly than previous years. And that comes at all ages, not just, I think, because we're getting older. I speak to young people and they're saying exactly the same thing. So am I right in then sort of assuming that whatever we choose for kind of AI to be, it will just accelerate and exaggerate the choices that we're making?
Yeah, not only that, it'll explode the number of choices available, because we don't even know certain things are possible right now. Certain things, for example, cure for cancer, we are just like, we are just there but not there, right? So what happens if AI becomes, like instrumental in finding the like maybe like vaccine, or like a pill to cure cancer, or some big problems that we are dealing with, and beyond that, there could be a totally new way to make students learn, you know because we have had centuries of sort of how can I conditioning of, okay, the way to learn is, you learn the alphabet, then you learn how to put them together, and then you go to college and all of that. If we watch the movie Matrix, I mean, in science fiction they say all you need is a chip, it goes into your mind, and then now you have just downloaded the entire, you know PhD curriculum for that topic. Um, so uh, we yeah, it's a fascinating time to be in.
And it is one of those things for me when I kind of hear you talking sort of about this. It almost then it starts to kind of craft a new role if we were to look at it like this. Certainly from a business perspective, for me, it's very, very clear that if it's not coming to take our jobs, if it's not going to take over the world, then it kind of becomes our. And I don't really want to use this word because it kind of feels a little bit awkward because it is so much more powerful than this, but it becomes almost our servant if we
Mhm.
can then sort of use it and position it that it serves us to infill maybe the weaknesses that we have, or maybe some of the less valuable tasks and things that we would normally be, we could say, wasting our time doing, to free us up for the more valuable things that we can offer the people around us, our communities, and maybe even broader. Maybe, like you being a thought leader globally, you can then really kind of empower yourself to really add that value that would otherwise be consumed by having to do the menial tasks. Do
Yeah,
you see it kind of playing out like that? Because then
yeah,
it really means then that humans, marketers, business owners, but humans more generally, can really start to focus in on actually what is my purpose? Why am I here? What is the higher level reason for being alive as a human? And really focusing on that rather than just get, you know, confused with the chaos that is everyday living right now.
Mhm. Yeah, you are one of the few people who get it immediately, right? Like you connect the dots. That's exactly right what you just said. Because our life is so consumed to collect resources that we need for survival. We've never had the chance to sort of step back and look at what do we really want out of life. What is it that makes us happy, because um, it's just impossible to focus on that. But when 80% of that, like, mental capacity is freed up, because most of the mundane things are done for you, then you have the ability and the desire to focus on that higher level goal that you have. I mean, it's well documented in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like when your basic needs are met, then you can focus on higher level needs. There's a spiritual guru Osho from India, very controversial figure, but he's like, he has profound teachings. One of the things he said was that I am the guru of the rich, because the person who's poor cannot afford to focus on these higher level thinking processes, because he's too busy trying to make ends meet, which is sad, but it is true.
Mm. Yeah, it is, and I think there's almost a luxury. I mean, even you and I here on this podcast right now, it is we have the luxury of being able to communicate. We're on different sides of the world right now, and we can just connect because we have the resources and I guess the finances to be able to do that. And it puts us in a very almost awkwardly privileged position, doesn't it? But then with that, it brings a responsibility, I think, that we have to be doing this in such a way that it kind of gives back more than we're actually then consuming from the
Yeah,
time that we're spending. Do you
yeah,
feel that when you do your
absolutely,
work?
absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I mean, that's absolutely right, because the thing is, a lot of people, when you become very, very wealthy, for example, we look at wealthy people and we say, hey, they should really contribute to society and fix all these problems. Now information and data is becoming the true wealth, right? So if we possess that, of course we should also act responsibly, and help implement these technologies in a way that is beneficial for everyone, not just people who understand these technologies, understand the impact that they can create and all of that. So definitely, absolutely, we should, like, that's a big responsibility that we should shoulder, for sure.
And kind of, I guess, along with that comes this whole idea of, doing things correctly, doing things honestly, and there's somebody, sort of in recent years for me has used the word wholesome. I don't know if for you this would mean the same thing, but for me it's kind of got two meanings. One is wholesome, so very much holistically using these ideas, but also wholesome in a very kind of honest, true, and authentic way. And I think there's almost this responsibility of anybody who is let's call them an AI practitioner or AI thought leader, to be really evangelizing using this in the best possible way. I know obviously some of the work that you're doing obviously focuses in on this, but I'm very keen to be encouraging people to think not just commercially about this, but also what are the other opportunities this might open up? Because if you can become more competitive and make a little bit more money, does that open up then opportunities to then give back more? So it's almost like with AI comes the whole philanthropy conversation, because the more you get, the more you gain, the more you can then give back. Do you see people kind of rising to this challenge and this opportunity?
I think what will happen is, in my prediction is that we are going to first experience like a new renaissance, just like in Europe, we had in 1500s like a renaissance where artists and musicians, I mean, that became the foundation of society. Creative people were sort of, at the top of society. They were paid the highest, and they were the ministers in the courts and all of that stuff, right? Because the reliance on the mind, as it starts to go down, humans, I mean, innately we have the desire to create these artistic things, right? That's from evolution, like, even thousands of years ago, when the caveman started painting the caves. So that is our innate desire. So that will happen, and then as these creative pursuits like really sort of feed the soul, if you will, okay, then people will start to become more benevolent, and sharing their wealth and ideas. Because prior to that, like, people are not as benevolent, because they are always thinking, oh, I'm not satisfied, I need more and more and more. Yeah.
Yeah, and this thing about sort of consumption. I mean, I think and I have been a marketer for some 3.5 decades now, so I've kind of overused this word consumption. I have consumers, and it's kind of marketing speak for customers. But actually, when you think of that word, and I find myself almost being embarrassed that I've been part of a community worldwide that has encouraged consumption, and it kind of feels really awkward now. It feels so at odds with what the planet needs, what society needs. And I think, for me, there's a big opportunity here with AI to kind of open up, as you say, new ideas, because AI knows stuff, because it can assimilate stuff that we as humans probably haven't spotted, or that we just don't have the capacity to spot. So I wonder if this is going to be used, in the not too distant future, to kind of open up just not only new ways of thinking, but new opportunities within that thinking for doing things differently. It just
Absolutely.
feels that there's a real kind of open-ended opportunity here, doesn't there?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, even if you, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'll give you a simple thought experiment. People don't realize that no idea is a unique idea. No idea is a brand new idea. Basically, humans, what we do is we recycle ideas from different observations. And what happens is, let's say, like I want to create something in healthcare, right? Uh, I can really go deep within the healthcare field and try to do a lot of research and become an expert. Or I can look at another industry or sector, or another part of the world, in how they have solved that problem, and then I can bring that solution from another industry into this healthcare. And now I'm basically marrying two ideas together to create a new idea. And if you look at entire history, entire list of inventions, that's how we recycle things as humans. Nothing is like an original idea. We just like mix and match things. But that ability depends upon our personal experience, how open our mind is, as an individual. But AI has no boundaries like that. It can like take healthcare, and it can take anthropology, and it can take like chemistry or physics, and put it all together into one solution that'll solve one problem. So that is an exponential sort of expansion of ideas, if you will, right? Does it make sense?
It does make sense, and I'm wondering now, and I guess this is a good time to go here. I've been very curious, and I'll understand if there is, commercial sensitivity that you can't talk about this, but I know you have a number of AI technology patents, and you have created ideas. Now, whether these are original ideas or AI generated ideas, I don't know. I'd be interested to explore that,
No.
because you've got some new stuff that you've created, haven't you? Has that
Yeah.
come from, enabled by AI, or if you spotted this as a human, you've spotted those connections? I'm very curious about this.
See, that question has a very deep implications, that it's always going to be human who comes up with the idea, always. Even if I get some assistance from AI, at the end of the day, that is my idea enhanced by technology. Because at the end of the day, I need to seed that idea into AI. You understand? So it's like, if I drive a car, my physical speed is 60 miles an hour, but I cannot run 60 miles an hour. I'm enhancing my ability to move faster by using technology, but that's my speed, right? I cannot say, oh, I am at 5 miles an hour, but the car is moving at 60 miles an hour. Therefore, the speed belongs to the car. No, I have an idea. I put it into AI. And AI spits it back, and then I interact with the AI. Now it's my idea enhanced by AI. That being said, all those 4 patents were before ChatGPT, so those were actual, we had to get a lot of engineers around the table and really think hard and work with patent lawyers and all that. So that was done old school. But moving forward, of course, everything we do, I actually treat AI as my intelligent confidant or advisor, to say, hey, what do you think? Like, we came up with this idea. What do you think? Give me some critique, because it has objective knowledge. It has no emotional attachment to anything.
If you were to go back and do those discoveries and those ideas again now, with obviously the technologies as they've evolved, well, certainly over the last 12 months, it's been incredible, the pace of kind of the evolution of AI. Would you have approached it differently? Would you be doing those kind of moments and those discussions in a different way? Would you have needed those people?
Absolutely. People see, once again, this question points me to this thought that machines can replace humans. No, machines cannot replace humans. They can only enhance humans. Now, if, let's say, I had a team of 10 PhDs and we came up with that invention, right? One can argue, yeah, maybe I don't need 10 PhDs. I can do with just myself and AI. But I believe it will take me 10 times longer, because the seed ideas will not be like, I will not have enough of that sort of seed ideas that we can say, okay, maybe we can do it this way, maybe we can do it that way. When you bring more people around the table, the seed idea is something revolutionary. Like, it needs to be out there. Then you can say, AI, help us solve these problems quickly. You see, we cannot just say to AI, you know what, like, I will like to be an inventor, invent something for me. Like, AI will be like, okay, what are you talking about? So
So if then a family or a business team sit around the table to either create something or solve a problem, it's either a family issue or professional business opportunity, whatever it happens to be. So the combination of people. Are you advocating then that to bring AI into that conversation will add more value than to just keep it purely human? Because it feels like now this AI kind of role as your confidant, your advisor, your mentor, kind of sat alongside you, it feels like you'd want to kind of be bringing that into most kind of meetings, either personal or professional, because of the value. And almost, again, going back to your matrix analogy, the matrix then of information and data and knowledge that you'd be tapping into is almost like you couldn't kind of lose then, could you really, if you balance those two things?
Yeah, like the funny thing is, as you're describing it, it is already happening right now. We have been dependent on AI for more than a decade. Like, I'm terrible with directions. Okay, so whenever I have to go somewhere, I mean, the first thing I do is enter the address into the GPS. That's all AI. I cannot, like, literally go from one point to another unless AI helps me. So this notion of we will bring AI into our life is already false. It's already here. Yes, moving forward, it'll be more and more and more. Yes, every touch point with another human, every desire that we have, AR, VR, quantum computing, like, the world is going to be totally different. I mean, we cannot even imagine the world that is going to exist in 10 years. I just came back from San Francisco. There are driverless cars running around in San Francisco, and you can just, like, call them like Uber, right? And it's kind of weird to sit in to see a car going in a busy city like San Francisco. But I believe that makes total sense. Like, drivers are not great, or humans are not great drivers. So in my opinion, in 10 years, I believe there's going to be laws against humans driving cars.
Wow, you heard it here first, everybody. Manuj has made the first claim of the day. That's a really interesting one, because you can then see, if that is true, then you can see that happening across a whole range of different industries, different moments in everybody's day. It has this proliferation across everything, doesn't it, eventually?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are so many, like, I can tell you, I think in the next about 10 years, we will see public companies with one employee, where every other sort of executive is AI. And this goes in contradiction to what I was saying earlier, that you may not need as many people. But in my opinion, there will be companies with one employee, but I think the companies who focus on the human capital will still continue to win.
Mm. Do you see this kind of, again, if we're talking 10 years out, it's almost like mind-boggling how we could even be talking about this because of the pace of change over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
But if you were to imagine, say, 10 years out, I mean, I'm experimenting with the metaverse and with kind of alternate realities and just kind of playing, just dabbling, running some courses, doing some things. And it's very interesting to kind of watch people's transition through a day. For example, they arrive at the virtual door complete skeptics at the start of the day. This is not my kind of thing. I have to move my digital twin, my avatar around this room. I'm really not comfortable with this. And actually, a couple of days ago, when I was running this session, this one person who was very, very quiet and very skeptical at the start of the day, by the end of the day, was wearing different outfits, was moving around seamlessly, and said, do you know, I've really surprised myself about how immersive and engaging this is. And I thought that was really quite a profound moment, is that once you open that Pandora's box, you can't close it. Once it's open and you've seen what's inside, there's almost this curiosity as being a human that cuts in, that means you just have to keep on going and exploring and extending that kind of experience. Do you think we'll get to a point, I mean, it might be 10 years, might even be shorter than that, where we're spending time beyond AI, because AI will be blended with it, but in kind of virtual spaces, and we don't even realize it's actually happened, much like this transition to driverless Uber cars in San Francisco, because these things seem to creep up on us and we don't even notice that it's happened. Do you think that will happen with things like metaverse?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe not metaverse in my like, it may be another incarnation of something along those lines, right? But the world is going to be seamless between virtual and real, like because again, when you understand how the human mind works, it has no clue what is real or not. It's just how it has been trained to think, oh, if I can touch it, that means it's real. If it has mass, that means it's real. So we can create those stimulus in our mind using these technologies, that I can just say, okay, I'll press a button and now I'm in on top of Eiffel Tower, and my mind has no clue whether I'm in Vancouver or actually in Paris.
Do you think then, I mean, again, this goes back to the Matrix thing as an interesting question to explore. Do you think then we become the Matrix, and that actually humans then don't need necessarily in the future? There's a lot of movies on this, but in the future then, because we become so intrinsically linked with this kind of matrix kind of structure of AI, that we actually don't need a human form, we don't need that physicality? Or do you think there will always be a need, if there is a possibility on this planet for humanity to last? Do you think there will always be a need to have the physicality similar to what we have already at the moment?
Well, I know is that human race is a bundle of emotions. It's basically, we are emotional beings, and all, we walk on this planet thinking, oh, we are logical, we are smart, we can figure out solutions to problem. At the end of the day, we are just trying to, like, feel the world. And as AI takes over the thinking aspect, which is the cause of the ego, which is the cause of all the good stuff, the technology, but also the bad stuff, which is the war and all kinds of like conflicts. It's all the mind's doing, right? So as the mind, and people are so scared of it, we are worried, oh, what happens if AI makes us stop thinking? Yeah, what happens when you stop thinking? Try it someday. I think you'll like it. It's called meditation.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and then we can let the AI just carry on with the day
Yeah.
whilst we're in this meditative state. That sounds really good. I don't know if it's just the time of year where we're all very
Yeah,
tired at the end of the
yeah.
year, but that sounds really nice thing. Is that
Mhm.
all of those tasks that we were talking about get done for us? The AI can deal with it, and then
Yeah.
we're just purely in just this meditative state. I mean,
Mm.
what is not to like about that? Do you think if that was to happen, then that AI would develop an ego? AI would understand that it is actually something, that can begin
No.
to take ownership of those decisions and those processes?
The no, no, because the funny thing when I hear that question is I ask that question right back. Do you know what ego is?
A sense of understanding that you exist,
But
I
that's your
think.
definition. That's the whole point. I mean, for thousands of years, even people like Jesus Christ, the Buddha, all of these people had this one question: what is ego? Like, what is life? Right? So, in order to say to AI, oh, what if it develops an ego? First, as humans, we need to understand what ego is. We don't understand what ego is. The actual fact is that AI is any technology is part of us. Like, do you think fire is separate from us? Do you think water is separate from us? Like, so maybe those are natural elements. Talk about the basic invention, the wheel. Now, do you think human race is separate from the wheel? Can we survive without the wheel?
Well, it certainly enables things like Uber and
No,
the other
our
things that we've
society is going
talked
to break
about.
down. No, as of today, tomorrow, let's say tomorrow we say, okay, no more wheels. You know,
Well, we're
let's
going
say,
nowhere then, literally.
yeah,
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 literally as society. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So when people say, oh, so do you think the wheel has developed an ego now?
No, I'll accept that one. It probably doesn't really know that it
Exactly,
exists or it has any decision making. It just
exactly.
revolves in the way that we've planned it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what AI is.
Interesting. And everybody listening to this, if you think that you might become a thought leader or you want to be a thought leader, this is a thought leader talking to you here right now, because this is kind of proper leading the thinking. And Manuj is giving us really incredible examples here, which I can't answer back to because they're just too clever. But they're so clever in their simplicity. And I think that is the beauty of the way of thinking about this is we can make this complex, and as humans we always try and make this super complex, don't we? We can fear AI, we can think that AI is going to dominate or do things that of its own accord, but at the very simplest level it is just an enabler, isn't it? It's just
Mhm.
another tool in the way you describe it. And
Exactly.
is that a way that I think we can all really sort of rest comfortably at night knowing it is there to help and support us?
I mean, I try to give that comfort to people because I understand this. So of course, if this message resonates, of course, do find comfort in that. But some people have the habit of, like, worrying about things regardless. Um, so definitely, there is nothing to be scared of. There's nothing. I mean, AI is already here. I mean, when you order a package from Amazon, it is AI making sure you get it the same day or the next day. When you like, you buy anything, the like, even this recording is happening because of AI. We are sitting thousands of miles apart, but we are talking in real time in high definition. This was not possible even like 10 years ago, right? Now with AI we can optimize the traffic, we can optimize the video, we can optimize the sound in real time. So it is already everywhere.
Mm.
It's now just becoming, it's like, becoming more apparent. Everybody can feel it, touch it. And the idea is the tool is now available to everyone, and it is up to you to use it and really benefit from it. I mean, I'll give you a stat. This is a stat from the CEO of IBM. So AI is going to add about $10 trillion to the world economy by 2030. Okay, so to give you some perspective, 10 trillion is 10,000 billion. Okay, and currently the world economy is $100 trillion. All right, so 10% of the world's wealth will be added in the next 7 years. So this is the biggest wealth making opportunity ever. So
So if
the
you, if you think that this is kind of a sideline thing,
Hmm.
clearly not. It's got to be mainstream for everyone, hasn't it?
Yeah. So the choice for people is, be scared of it or give in to the fear, or use it and disrupt industries, like really help people around you. And when you help people using these technologies, that's the value you're going to create for the future, and that's how you're going to make money.
Mm. I want to keep people connected with you so they can follow your work and, sort of enjoy the rest of your journey as you go through, what are undoubtedly going to be many more really interesting conversations and experiences and seeing hopefully some of your technologies rolling out. What is the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, you go to my website, manujaggarwal.com, or find me on LinkedIn and let me know you heard me on this podcast.
That's brilliant. Manuj, this has just been a real pleasure. It really has. It's everything I was hoping it would be, this conversation. And I'm just feeling, very kind of empowered to kind of just go and learn more and go and do more with this whole thing in my little world. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your time and wisdom today. It's been really
Absolutely.
good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.